Dietitian Sandra here for our next Reddit review post. I'm going to give a little disclaimer that whoever wrote this post, English must be a second language to them. I'm going to read it exactly as it was written. I chose this one because I think well, you'll see why. It's really cool. So, how does calories work? Does the calories on a bread work different from the ones on a piece of meat? Eating the same amount of calories but from different kinds of food change anything? Like if it's bread, will you gain more weight than if it was meat? Which is more important for weight loss, calories or carbs? I love this question so much
I love it.
because I love calories. I love talking about them. I love reading about them. I love learning about them. So I'm going to be throwing a bunch of information at you guys. Stay with me here a little bit. I'm going to break down your metabolism in this video as well. Hopefully you'll have a bunch of good takeaways from that. Let's kind of first start off with explaining what is a calorie.
Calories, calories.
Calories, calories.
A calorie is a unit of energy that measures how much energy food provides to your body. When you consume food, your body uses these calories as fuel for all its functions, from respiration, like breathing, to circulating blood to the different parts of your body that needs it. For basic organ function, controlling your body temperature, cellular growth, so many things that your body's doing all day long. It needs a lot of energy. And calories is just the unit of energy that we use to measure this. Anytime you're consuming calories in excess to what you are burning off, your body will store it as body fat. If you're eating the right amount of calories to the right amount of caloric expenditure, you will maintain. And everyone's striving for this one here, caloric deficit, where you are burning more than you're consuming and thus losing weight. Ideally body fats if you do it right.
What are you talking about? There's no fat on my body.
Time we're talking about caloric expenditure within a day / how many calories you are burning off in a day, we call this total daily energy expenditure. Total daily expenditure is made of your basal metabolic rate, your digestion, and any physical activity that you're doing. The majority of the calories that you are expending fall under the basal metabolic rate bucket. Your basal metabolic rate is how many calories your body needs while you're at rest for basic bodily functions, like how I mentioned before, cellular respiration, cellular growth, organ function, all those things. That actually makes up 60 to 75% of your total daily energy expenditure. That's a lot. Majority of your calories that you need are just for basic function. There are some ways, and this is typically what you see a lot advertised to predict this, like through a resting metabolic rate test, which is you're wearing a mask, and through the exchange ratios of your carbon to carbon dioxide, we're able to figure out how many calories you're truly burning versus an equation. You can do things that are more extensive and costly, such as a doubly labeled water test, but you can also run simple equations to figure out how much you weigh based upon your height, weight, age, and we'll be factoring in your physical activity level at that point as well, but we'll touch on that here in a little bit. So what are things that influence your basal metabolic rate? It's going to be your fat-free mass, meaning everything in your body besides body fats, which also includes your muscle mass. So the more muscle you have, the faster your metabolism is going to run. Fat mass is also a contributing factor to your basal metabolic rate. So how much body fat do you have, which plays also a factor into how much you weigh. The more you weigh, the higher your basal metabolic rate is going to be. Men will need more calories than women, unfortunately. Your age, the younger you are, the higher your basal metabolic rate. And any genetic traits or current health status, such as if you're someone in the hospital with severe burns, your energy expenditure is going to be through the roof. You're going to have a lot of calories you're going to need in order to heal from that. Surgery will also increase your basal metabolic rate. So there are a few reasons why that might happen. Or just simple hormonal balance, that could be it too. That's a little bit less dramatic. The next factor to your total daily energy expenditure is going to be your digestion. And this part is my favorite subject of your metabolism. It's the one I find the most fascinating. It's one not a lot of people know about. It also only makes up 10% of your total daily energy expenditure, but to me, this is the most fascinating 10. So when we're talking about digestion, we're really talking about the thermic effect of food, meaning the amount of energy it takes to digest the food that you're eating. Interestingly enough, depending on if you're eating carbs, fat, or protein, your body will require different amount of calories to break those foods down. There are some food categories that are easier for your body to digest, meaning it needs less calories to break that food down. And there are some types of food that are very hard for your body to break down, and thus it needs more calories to break it down. Sounds pretty exciting, doesn't it? All right, so let's go into more detail here now, okay? So, fats are going to be on the lowest end of the spectrum. Your body only needs 5 to 10% of calories of that food to digest and absorb that. Your carbs are at 5 to 15%, and then your protein is the highest at 20 to 30%. All right, let me say that again. Protein has a thermic effect of 20 to 30%. This means that your body uses more energy to digest protein compared to fats or carbs, leading to a higher calorie burn when consuming protein. Let's use an example here just to help clarify. Let's assume we have 400 calories of pure fat, 400 calories of pure protein, and 400 calories of pure carbs. We're going to keep it simple. It's in its purest form. It's not mixed or anything like that. So when you're digesting the 400 calories worth of carbs, your body's going to use 5 to 15% of those calories to digest and absorb the carbs. This comes to 20 to 60 calories, and therefore will absorb 340 to 380 calories of carbs. If you are trying to break down the fat, the 400 calories worth of fat will require 5 to 10% of the calories to digest. This is 20 to 40 calories, and therefore your body will be absorbing 360 to 380 calories. Now, when it comes to protein, your body is going to need 80 to 120 calories to digest those 400 calories worth of protein, which means you're absorbing 280 to 320 calories. This makes it super fascinating, especially if you're trying to change your body composition, gain weight, lose weight. You might want to use some of this knowledge to manipulate things. Now, to add in one more sliver of complexity to it, if we have fiber embedded into our carbs, such as whole grain or beans or peas, those are higher fiber items versus just straight sugar, completely different. The fiber will actually take more energy to digest. So the more complex a carb is, / it has more fiber, the higher the thermic response will be. A 2017 study found that participants increased their metabolism by more than 92 calories just by eating whole grain foods and increasing their fiber intake. Just saying, that's a good enough reason for me to eat a little bit more whole grain. So the simpler the carb, the easier it is to digest. The more fiber it has, the harder it is for your body to digest, and therefore the less calories you're going to be absorbing. So why don't we make this a bigger deal when it comes to weight loss or weight gain and such? And it really has to do with our human nature of overestimating the amount of exercise we're doing and underestimating the amount of calories that we're consuming.
You overestimate yourself.
Anytime we're logging our food or trying to analyze how many calories we're burning, there's always a certain standard deviation of error that comes with it. So therefore, we're kind of making up some ground by not focusing too much on the thermic effects of food piece of it. So that kind of answers a big part of the question of eating the same amount of calories, but from different kinds of foods. Does that change anything? And in a way, it does, right? So we just learned that. Do the calories from bread work different from the ones from meat? Yes, we touched on that too. So if you're eating bread, will you gain more weight than if it was meat? At the end of the day, it depends on how many calories you're eating in general. If you are over on your calories, then it doesn't matter if your calories come from bread or from meat, you're going to store some as body fat. If you're in a caloric deficit, you'll be fine, right? It doesn't matter then if you're eating a piece of toast or a piece of meat. Which is more important for weight loss, calories or carbs? Calories. Calories are always going to be more important. Why do people get on the low carb bandwagon when they're trying to lose weight? Because quite frankly, not a lot of people like to log their food all the time. And we need to find a certain cheat sheet or shortcut of how can we get someone to lose weight while not logging food. A lot of times, just reducing someone's carbs or being more mindful about them or just cutting them out completely can help someone get into that caloric deficit without having to sit there and run a bunch of numbers.
Isn't it amazing? Not one carb.
Another contributing factor to your total daily energy expenditure is your physical activity. This is something you can easily manipulate by just being more active if you are trying to burn more calories. It's also healthy to be more active, but this can account for 20 to 30% of your total daily energy expenditure. I highly encourage for you to be super honest with yourself in terms of how active you actually are. We would all love to be more active, but it can be challenging for people to meet those activity levels. When you're figuring out your total daily energy expenditure, be honest with yourself. And that way you're not setting yourself up as someone that's exercising every single day when you're only exercising twice a day. That's a completely different energy expenditure. So just be honest with yourself, especially if you're focused on weight loss, maintenance, body recomposition, etc.
Exercise?
Religiously.
Not at all.
Things that affect our caloric intake are foods, drinks, really anything that we're ingesting, including certain medications. So even things like cough syrup have calories. Fish oil have calories too. A lot of times these are a very small amount of calories, so there's not something you have to get too hung up about, but those are all of the things that we ingest that offset our caloric expenditure. All right, hope you found this information helpful. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel so I can keep making more of these videos. And I'll see you at the next one. Bye.
Calories, calories.
Calories, calories.